This is video 1 of 7 videos in this series. Please be sure to watch the other ones. I'm not sure how well it can be seen, but there between the skylight and the chimney is my haphazard scaffolding. And what this does is allow me to go from the window that opens a shorter distance to do some work on the fireplace crown. It's got cracks on top. I originally believed from a drone picture that the mortar or concrete or cement, I don't know for sure, only because there's always surprises with this house, what it is, but it looked very thin. It's not, it's pretty thick. It's got a bunch of cracks in it. So right now I'm sealing those, and there are 4 flues that service 3 fireplaces, and I need to seal those cracks up there, put some caps on the 4 flues, and then down on the first floor I've completely removed all the bricks in the firebox on the floor. I've removed the concrete, cement, mortar from below the bricks, and just below that are some cinder blocks that are not, they're just sitting in there. They're not sealed with, they don't have mortar joints or anything like that. And that was 32 bricks that I removed. And then tried to find some bricks to replace ones that were cracked or completely broken, and I've had almost no luck. I did come across 2 that somebody had, and so hopefully I can do with those. But what was really happening here was we've been getting so much rain that either the rain is going through the cracks, or because the flues are 13 by 13, they were taking on a lot of water. But it was only the 2 middle flues that service the first floor fireplace. We had water seepage into the firebox, and then the water continued through the cracks in between the mortar joints down into basement ceiling, and the basement also has a fireplace. So there's damage to the ceiling downstairs, damage to the fireplace on the first floor, and then the damage that's up there. My haphazard contraption scaffolding up there is kind of a pain in the butt to stand on, but it works, and I've got it braced so that it goes across the top of the window on the roof, and then also goes down the side, and then there's cross braces so that when I stand on it, it's not pushing straight down, it's actually pushing against the window frame. But regardless, it's actually pretty strong, sturdy. So even though I do have that up there, I also have a Guardian Series 1 safety harness with a 6-foot safety strap, and I've got it hooked in up top so that I can do the work that I need to do. Set up scaffolding up in the loft up there directly beneath the window, and then I just climb out the window with the safety harness on, and then climb up the scaffolding to do what I need to do to the crown of the fireplace. Got some more cracks to seal, and then I'm going to put some high temp silicone around the flues where the mortars come up to the flues, and then I'm going to put the caps on. I bought 4 galvanized black caps. They're 13 by 13 caps. This is a dry stack stone fireplace. It's about 32 years old. The crown on it's pretty weathered, so that's getting worked on right now. But there's also some other issues with some of these stones are sitting in here loosely. You know, on occasion when the winds get high, some of these stones make their way out. It's not really the big stones, and good thing it's not the big stones, but some of these little stones aren't sitting in here too good. So I'm gonna have to put some mortar in there to better secure some of these smaller stones so they'll stop rolling down the roof. Here's one of the cracks, and rather than just taking the masonry repair sealant. So rather than just putting it on there, what I'm doing is taking a flat tip screwdriver and making the crack slightly bigger so that there's some fresher mortar. And then also because I think there's some moss and other stuff growing in there. So I use the flat tip screwdriver, break it up a little bit, take a wire brush, clean as much as possible, and then I use some compressed air and blow it all out before I put the repair sealant on it. And that's one of the cracks. Another one. It's a pretty big one right there. And then there's another one. And then there's another one over there. And then one down there. And I've already repaired probably 5 or 6 of the cracks already. I was using a putty knife to put this sealant in the crack, but it just didn't feel like it was actually going into the crack. It just felt like it was on the surface. So now I'm just using a glove, and because I can actually feel the sealant squeezing down into the crack, which makes me more comfortable in knowing that it's actually getting in the crack versus just being scab on top. So now just rub it in. I just got through wire brushing it, blowing it out, and now I'm just gonna put the sealant on. I am in no way an expert, but most of these cracks originate from around the flues. And if you look at the flue and then look at the mortar on the crown, you can pretty much tell that there was no gap between the flue and the mortar. No seal tape was used to leave a gap for expansion. So it looks like the majority of these cracks, I mean, they all start next to the flues and then go out. So I'm guessing that's why it cracked. I have no idea how long ago it cracked, but there's some pretty big ones on here. Just finished putting all the sealant on the cracks. And as I pressed it into the cracks to make sure the cracks are getting filled, I also feathered it out to the sides, hopefully getting better adherence. There's actually a couple cracks that I didn't even see until I used the air compressor and noticed some cracks. So this is all sealed. I have no idea how long it'll last. I hope it lasts for a long time, because I have no desire to come back up here anytime soon. Now I just need to get my high temp silicone and go around where the flues are. I mean, there's some gaps around the flues, but not all the way around each of the flues. It's tight on some sides and then kind of open, but I think the cracks in the mortar are what created that gap, because there's definitely no gap there, no gap there, no gap there, a gap there, a little bit of a gap there. So that's my next step, is putting the high temp silicone in, and then I'll be putting some 13 by 13 galvanized caps on each one of these flues. I don't know if you can tell, but flues are all at different heights, and the distance between each one is different. I think one is 7 3/8, one is 7, and then one is 13 5/8, which is okay, because it gives enough room between the tops of each of the flue caps. I don't know why, but this flue right here is not centered with the rest of them, or the other 3 aren't centered, and that one is the only one that's centered. Not sure, or they just got off center as it was being built. So one of the caps is going to look kind of awkward sitting off a little bit, but I don't know, maybe from the ground you won't be able to tell. We'll see. Here are the 4 master flow 13 by 13 caps on top of our chimney. I've got them leveled left to right and front to back, so water or rain's not just gushing down to one side of the fireplace. So they're all leveled, and the screws in it are off to the corners. Unfortunately, the screws don't stay pointed in towards the center as you screw them in. They tend to want to go left or right. I mean, they feel like they're on there pretty solid, but this metal right here just isn't thick enough to keep the screw where it needs to stay. So hopefully these will stay on. I guess once these winds start kicking, I'll find out. Hopefully I don't hear one crashing into the yard or rolling down the side of the house at some point. That's pretty much it. Got the crown sealed, got the caps on. Now I just gotta do some work around the sides of the fireplace, or the chimney. Got some loose rocks in here that I need to put some mortar in, so I don't have to hear those tumble down the side of the house either. Here it is, 2.5 weeks later. Finally came out. I had left the makeshift scaffolding that I had made up there for the last 2.5 weeks with the intent of going back up there just to double check everything. So the caps that I put up at the top of the fireplace, or the top of the chimney, are still good, tight, none of them are loose. The repair work that I did on the crown up there is still good. There's no pilling, no gaps or anything, so that's all still intact. And then I also used some mortar to put in between the rocks that were loose, because there were quite a few rocks up there that were loose. Once I checked everything, I took down my makeshift scaffolding, except this time I took it all in through the window, took it apart piece by piece and passed it through the window. So this project is done. It's really difficult to see the caps up top of the chimney. Kind of looks like a Japanese village on a hilltop up there, but it serves its purpose. We haven't had any issues. There's been a couple days with rain, and no rain has come down the flues or through the repaired cracks on the crown of the fireplace. Not sure how long this will last. I hope it lasts a while, because I am definitely not looking forward to going back up there. Not that I'm afraid of heights, I'm just afraid of hitting the ground.